Yeah. It's the first. It's the first. It's the first episode. It's the first. Might be your last.
But I'm looking for my first.
First episode podcast. Welcome to First Episode Podcast, a cherry popping debrief of your next binge-worthy television series. I'm your host, Motown Maurice.
And I'm Atara G.
And I'm guest host, Raj Jawa.
Today we're cherry popping The Madness.
Media pundit Muncie Daniels must fight to prove his innocence after stumbling upon a murder in the Poconos while trying to reconnect with his estranged family and his lost ideals in order to survive.
The genres are crime, drama, and thriller.
Let's get into The Madness. First, I want to address that this is Raj's pick. What inspired you to pick this show, Raj?
Interesting, politically, poignant at the time. I enjoy this type of mystery. I thought it could be interesting because of the kind of criminal element, kind of tying into what Agatha all along wasn't, So, who knows? I think it was all those things kind of combined.
This is getting we're getting the fix that Agatha all along stole from us.
Right.
That show, by the way, it's so many shows in one.
It really is. It's so good though.
It's good. It's a lot. They bring a lot of different genres and ideas. There's just a lot of ideas in that show.
Did you finish it?
We got 2 more episodes.
Okay, I finished Terminator Zero.
Really?
Yeah. Surprisingly, right? After all my hooing and hawing about children, I know. It was actually not bad. Like, it may be predictable or maybe like, I don't know. It's Terminator. You kind of know what happens more or less. People kind of sacrifice, and maybe that teaches the AI something or whatever. But yeah, that I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. I thought it was well put together.
And it got better after the first episode, would you say?
Yeah, it stayed interesting. I think that's kind of the main thing. It kept its pace going. It kind of figured out things maybe that we maybe already talked about. I don't remember exactly all our discussions, but yeah, it's kind of maybe predictable, but it's an exciting ride. I enjoyed watching it. I think my computer was copying files for a long time. I'm like, you know what? Let me just finish Terminator Zero, and I did. I didn't regret it. It wasn't bad.
Is that the first show you finished from our debriefs?
Other than Fallout, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah.
Nice.
Fallout I did finish right away, but yeah,
you did.
Yeah,
I think you even cheated.
No, I maybe watched 2 episodes, but no, I didn't cheat all the way. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed that. That's inspiring me maybe to give Terminator Zero another rethink.
Well, and I know you'd mentioned watching. You'd said to go ahead with watching. What did you just recommend to me that from our show that you guys finished?
Oh, was it Supercell? Was it that?
Not Supercell and not Wandla. God.
3-Body Problem?
No, it was after that. I know. I'm sorry for radio silencing the show. God. Well, anyways, I wanted to keep going with it, but I was like, Hit Monkey.
Oh,
you told me to watch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know why. I knew that's what it was. I don't know why.
I was watching the second episode, and I'm like, I'm not there yet. But maybe it keeps going. Maybe it gets better after the second episode.
It does. The show is really good.
I'm sure.
I got to tell you, when we went to watch the first episode to prepare for the podcast, Motown accidentally started us on the second episode.
I do remember. Yeah,
we had to scrub our brains and then go back and watch.
Gotcha.
It wasn't too much.
It wasn't too much.
Well, yeah, once I got a better understanding of that whirl of Hit Monkey.
Yeah.
Then I was like, it got fun.
Yeah, because you've got this monkey who's a hitman, and then superheroes, and
spirits, people with special abilities.
It's like a whole lot of stuff going on.
For sure. Yeah. Their paradigm of like not being able to talk to each other, though, I think is very like, it can be, what do you call it? A little testing, I suppose, because it's like you don't know exactly what either one is. Well, you know what he's thinking. He's always talking, but you don't know what the monkey's thinking, really.
Yeah.
Poor monkey.
Well, good stuff. I'm glad that you're watching some more of the shows. We have a list of shows to like finish up. We do. We really do. We got some catching up to do. But it's fun. It's certainly fun. But we're here to talk about the badness.
I mean,
we have to get into the badness. We're not just going to get into the show. We're going to get into the character this time. Because there are some things wrong with this character.
Yes, definitely.
Everything that's wrong with Muncie Daniels. Let's get into that. Well, first of all, let's let the audience understand who Muncie is. He's a political consultant turned TV pundit who may have lost his way in life. While on a sabbatical in the Poconos to write the great American novel, Muncie finds himself only to witness a murder of a well-known white supremacist. Audience, there will be some spoilers in our debrief, so get ready. But Atara has a lot to say about what is wrong with Muncie.
I do. Now, you may have guessed it already. Muncie is a very tall man. He is African American, and he has a beautiful deep complexion. And he decides to go to the isolated area of the Poconos by himself. Muncie Daniels goes to the woods by himself to write his great American novel. That's just his first step in failing being African American in America 101. Muncie Daniels, you failed. Your grade is an F. Okay, so A, we're in the Poconos, in the woods, by ourselves. Secondly, your neighbor pulls up in a huge, obnoxious truck, a gigantic watch, giving off, I can't tell you how bad the vibes were. I wasn't even there. I felt them through the TV. The vibes were terrible. Terrible, terrible vibes.
What's the catch about the watch, though?
It's like akin to having, like, people who are insecure, they want to have big showy things. So you have a big truck, you have a big watch, this is my opinion. I feel like the bigger and showier the things you own, that ties into something that's insecure within you, feeling small within. So you have to appear to be big on the outside. It's like when you have a midlife crisis and you decide to turn in your minivan to go get a Corvette.
So I'm guessing it's this kind of watch because a Rolex would be too upper class, too fancy for a guy like him.
A Rolex would be too understated.
Okay.
Right? We know it's a Rolex, but it's understated. It's classic, And
an Apple Watch would be too liberal, too yuppie.
Yeah. When I was watching this scene, I could not take my eye. I was like, what is this watch?
Interesting. I didn't notice at all.
Dude in this truck and this watch. Like, what is this?
But didn't he also have like a skin over the watch? They mentioned something like that. Am I wrong? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
I thought they mentioned there was like...
The watch was so big. I had never seen a watch that big before, and this big, huge triple cab truck. And then you roll up on this guy. Oh, you're my new neighbor. Oh, aren't you on TV? Oh, you got opinions. He might as well have said, oh, you uppity N-word, That's essentially what it was.
If you're Muncie in this situation, are you feeling suspicious about this neighbor at this moment? Or is it just like, he's a little off?
I feel like his character did play it a little weirded out, but certainly not to the degree that I guess would call for the situation. But I don't know if Muncie knew. Could he parse it out? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Like I would definitely probably be oblivious in his position as well. I will say I think he is fully prepared for the woods because he does know some sort of judo or something. So he's fully prepared to take on the bears or whatever comes,
In Muncie's defense, I'm not leaving because of that situation. I'm like, okay, this guy, I have to be cautious about him. He's a little bit off, but I don't know if I'm leaving just yet.
If I were in the woods by myself, that interaction would make me uncomfortable enough to leave.
Right away. As a woman or as a man?
First of all, why would I be in the Poconos by myself no, in this day and age? No, we don't do that anymore. And I'm not saying I'm a wilderness girl. I love to camp. I love all that stuff. I grew up doing that stuff. It has nothing to do with the wilderness. It just has to do with the day and age that we are, the time that we're living in. People are much more willing to act out their intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
And to your point, Raj, you said Muncie maybe didn't know better. He should have known better.
No, I agree. Well, sure.
Muncie should have known better.
I just feel though that interaction wasn't super overt in terms of who that guy was. But I agree with you.
agree.
I mean there is I'm not saying there's nothing to intuit out of that interaction with that guy. But I just feel like if we're going to talk about, like, it wasn't American History X happening in that car, in that truck.
You have opinions. That's all it takes.
That was exactly what you said of every intention of that line.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then
The power goes off?
And then the power goes out. It's getting dark. Power goes out. You go wandering around the property.
Yeah.
You go wandering over to this weird vibe guy's property, touching stuff with your bare hands.
The guy did say, hey, if you need some help, just come along the way. You can come knock on my door.
He came, he knocked on the door. He walked around the side of the house. He was hollering enough. Obviously, the guy wasn't there. Go back to your cabin, pack up your stuff, and leave. Don't start poking around and touching stuff with your bare hands. I don't know. Maybe I watch too much crime drama, but
I will say, I do think Muncie has a unreasonable amount of trust in someone he just met. Like, I do agree with you, Motown, because he did say, like, come over if you need anything, but I think it's maybe a little bit naive to kind of take that at full face value. Even if he's not a sinister person himself, you just don't know what can happen. It ties a little bit to something you were saying, but it's a bit more the woman alone in the wilderness angle. There's a movie, I'm not going to be able to come up with the name at the top of my head, but basically, like, they keep hiking through her property because it's like prime hiking spot, but it goes through her property, and she's made complaints, and like the police don't really do anything, but then there's a murder, and now she's being pegged for it, and everybody's kind of like against her, but like nobody believed her when it was like so it's like it's like similar type of situation.
yeah, like you're the only witness to this murder, and given who you are, he has totally lost touch with his reality in the world.
Yeah.
So just so the audience know, after he goes to the neighbor's house looking for the neighbor, he doesn't find the neighbor.
Oh, he finds the neighbor.
Which leads to what you just addressed as far as a murder. So this is where Muncie, for me, starts to really make mistakes is just like touching things. He's touching the door. It's like, bro, what's going on? He knows something is suspicious right then and there. You got to stop touching things.
Even when he got there, the guy's truck was there. He got there. He's calling out. The guy's not answering. Like, where is your intuition, Muncie? Have you totally just shelved it?
No, it's true. It's true. But I mean, Muncie, like, he has a lot of things wrong with him. Like, he's been making mistakes before he went to the wilderness, in his personality. Like, if we're just gonna rag on Muncie, like, the first thing I noticed was, I mean, he stayed at his son's house for like a minute.
I know, that was so short.
And he only went there. Oh, I came by because you've been asking me to. That's what he said to.
Oh, I missed that, but that makes a lot of sense then. That was horrible. I mean, his son took it purely in stride, if I recall. I don't know if that was bad acting or just like maybe bad direction. But like, yeah, if that was the case, like, that was sad. That was a sad like visit.
Well, that boy is adopted because he looks
Nothing like
nothing like his parents. I don't know where they got him from, but it was not from her womb. I don't know.
What, and I think the you could tie in both the he was accused of being out of touch by his guest on his guest show on CNN, and then also tie it in with him feeling the need to escape civilization to write this novel. It seems like he is constantly running from something, or maybe does have this elitist slant that he doesn't want to acknowledge, that the guest maybe calls him on. So yeah, I think there's a lot of those type of character flaws in Muncie. If not, we'll see if those actually get exercised out, or if that's just part of who he is.
It's interesting. After his little he did his time on CNN, he went and met up with his lawyer, and his lawyer's like, yeah, we're going to get you this show and blah, 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 blah. Hopefully the money is right. And then Muncie's like, well, it can't always be about the money and blah, 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 blah. It's got to be about the art. I'm like, are you really in that kind of position to just...
Well, it's CNN. Like, what kind of autonomy art? Like, what are you doing?
What are you
doing
doing,
at that
Muncie?
job
Right?
that you're have
Dude, he just
yeah.
A lot of people on that level become out of touch. They just do. Celebrities, stars, they're all out of touch. They're no longer a part of the community that they grew up in once they reach that level.
That's my problem with Muncie. His lawyer clearly hasn't. Because when they were in his apartment together, the lawyer, Muncie, and the police officer were all in his apartment, they were like, yes, how do you do, Tom? Blah, 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 blah. And then as soon as the police officer left, the lawyer was like, okay, now let's get down to it. You need to...
Basic code switching.
Right.
Code switch,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And Muncie code switched too. Only with his words and his tone and his vernacular, but he was still standing there, like his lawyer said, standing there with his dick in his hand, which it's clear he's been doing that for a very long time.
Yeah. It was I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but it was impressive how much the guy at the furniture store was telling him after he gained his trust.
I said it to Raj.
Muncie's not that charming. Muncie is not that charming.
That was just a little bit too much information. Come on, man.
I don't even know if maybe it'll come into play later, but it's I don't even know if we needed that information. I guess that what led him to the ex-wife, but still, yeah.
Oh, man. So Muncie got into a little scuffle, stabbed somebody, left the pen, leaving evidence. That's a big mistake.
So he stumbles upon this situation with his neighbor. The perpetrators of the situation see him and start chasing him through the forest, the isolated forest in the Poconos. And the pin that he has, I don't know if you realize it, the pin he has was a pin he took out of that gift box.
Yeah, it's engraved and
it's
very
engraved
special.
and everything. And he stabs that guy in the neck and leaves the pin. Again, maybe it's just me watching too much crime drama, but I would have the presence of mind to take the pen with me. I'm not leaving anything behind.
Oh, and we know it's gonna. The camera is sat on that pen.
Pen.
Like we know it's gonna come into play. I was like, why didn't it just get left in the water?
Exactly.
Like much better chance it doesn't actually get found.
Get it out of the water with you, but you can't hold on.
Yeah.
Muncie.
Why didn't he leave it in the guy's neck? I mean, still not that. That's not a good idea, but at least
Yeah. Again, strike two. Touching stuff.
Yeah.
Stabbing people, leaving leaving the weapon that you've touched all over the place.
And among all of that, he took so long to inform his wife and
my
son
gosh
about the danger that's coming.
Yeah.
His priorities are so bad. He gets back to his apartment. He walks in. He notices that, first of all, let's dial it back a little bit. When you're still at the Poconos and he notices the tire on his car has been slashed. If you know it's slashed, you know they're trying to keep you from going somewhere. If they're trying to keep you from going somewhere, they want to find you. So yes, when you go back home, you should have a little bit of a high alert. So he walks in, he notices that the photo of his family has been touched. He notices that the patio door has been jimmied open, and then calls his lawyer. Not let me call my ex-wife and son to see if they're okay. Let me call my lawyer and sit on this.
He hasn't sent the papers yet, so they're technically still married, but yes, I get it.
Estranged. Fine.
He's not. Yeah, he's not in the. He hasn't pieced it together. I don't know if that's fully. Like, I don't know if that's something to hold against him. It might be. It very well might be. I'm just not 100% sure. I don't know if I'd put it together either, necessarily. Like, certainly there's cause for concern, but I guess you might not realize that it's going to extend beyond you right away. Because he doesn't even know the guy is connected until the FBI agent talks to him.
But if someone breaks into your apartment and the only thing they touch is a photo of your family?
Yeah, that's a bit strange. Yeah, especially if it's so noticeable that you tell it to the cop.
Yeah, slashed. Yeah. After you witnessed a murder, after you've been chased to the forest, after you've been stabbed a guy in the neck with a pin.
Yeah, it's true.
And he really didn't do that until he was approached at the county hospital about those two guys. Remember, he was in the wheelchair?
And the only reason he went to the hospital to get that wound addressed is because the FBI agent said, you need to get that looked at. There's pus coming out of it. Meanwhile, he's running around town with his collar popped and a pussy leg. This guy is a hot mess. Yeah. No wonder she's asking for the divorce papers.
So, with all that being said, Muncie, if you're listening, what's some advice we can give Muncie so he can be better? What can he do? You had mentioned that he needs to get a disguise. Stop being so noticeable.
Stop driving around town in your Range Rover with your collar popped. Okay? You're a big African-American man. You're going to be noticeable. Okay, there's nothing you can do about that. But tone it down a little bit. Disguise yourself. You know they're looking for you. Be a little bit harder to find. Let's talk about this for a second. His lawyer tells him, maybe you need to post up at the Ritz-Carlton. He says no. But after he finally goes to get his wife and child, where does he go? The Days Inn. We're in danger. I'm going to come get you. Our lives are being threatened. Let's go hide out at the Days Inn.
Continental breakfast.
I mean, the writing room must have been in fits of laughter writing this, because this dude...
He is the madness.
He is.
They want to throw a wrench at us to make us believe that the environment and the threats are the madness, but Muncie is the madness. The only one
acting out of character here is Muncie.
What if I want to speculate? I don't know the answer, but I feel like the answer to this murder might be like an internal power struggle, like two different white supremacist groups or something. I don't know. But that's like, it's probably going to be something like not that
deep.
Not that deep, yeah. Yeah. Because, they're trying to make it a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think it's going to be probably most likely a power struggle.
I'm not so sure they aren't trying to frame Muncie.
Oh, no, of course they are.
Because I'm saying...
But who?
I'm saying I'm not so sure that the idea to frame him just wasn't, oh my gosh, he caught us in this murder. Now we got to frame him for it. It could have just been, hey, yeah, let's frame this guy. We know, that could have been the plan all along.
You think so?
It could be.
I mean,
I wouldn't say so.
Some of the, well, I was going to say some of the factors do seem like it is a little more premeditated, the tracker, but we just don't know where these things came from. Did the cops just do it? Did the, we don't really know exactly what, where anything's coming from at the moment.
And these kind of these kind of networks run deep, high and low,
right,
and have lots of fingers and branch out. So we don't know how much of this was in place before Muncie decided to go by himself to that most isolated part of the Poconos I have ever seen to write a book.
I would say that Muncie stumbled across this, and they saw this as an opportunity to pin it on him. Well, they wanted to kill him, and because they couldn't, it just started to unravel as an opportunity to pin it on him.
Don't forget they found the shock G in his car.
I would also say maybe this adds to the bad decisions he makes. It's the first two cops he found, but why go to two cops just randomly at a diner? Like, what if they don't report it? What if they're like, you notice how when he said aunt, they kind of had a bit of recognition. At least one of them did. Mm-hmm. 'Cause the other one then even said, and you got away. Almost as if like those are like good, those are great guys. Like, how did you get away from him? So there's something there. And yeah, why not go to straight? Not that maybe the police station is just as corrupt, but at least you have a better chance of more people overhearing you.
The call. When he walked up to the police, he was like, "I was just about to call you." No, I'm calling my lawyer. Come and get me.
Yeah. Well, and then the I guess the clear. Why I lean like in a supremacist like power struggle is the death of the critical condition of the what was the YouTube reporter?
Yeah.
She was barely on screen.
Yeah.
But there's something she seems to know something, and I'm guessing it's because she's probably in a group or has investigated or something.
First thing I noticed about her was her lip filler. Sorry.
And with that being said, we're enjoying this conversation. But what's the entertainment potential of us watching this after? Do
I want to watch this man? Do I think this man is going to get a clue? Yes. Hopefully, after finding that shock G watch in his car, because he left his car in the parking lot of the Days Inn completely insecure and inaccessible. Because that's how he ended. That's how the episode ended, with him looking at that watch and realizing maybe it's dawning on him that this is a full-on setup and he cannot trust anybody. Will he get it together after this? And the pieces will start to fall in place? Or will he just continue to fumble through this? Do I want to watch him fumble through this? I don't think so.
Really?
I don't. I rather watch the Lakers lose. I mean, and you know how I feel about how irate I get about that. I will say this. I'll give it one. I'll watch episode 2 because I'm hopeful that him finding that watch, it really dawned on him that he is being set up. He'll so pack up and go to the Ritz like he should have in the first place. And he'll call that FBI agent and say, "Hey, this is what's happening." But right now, they got him. He hasn't made any decisions, and he hasn't made any decisions that can defend him from saying he's guilty.
So you're at least watching the second episode.
I'm at least watching the second episode.
You have cherries at this moment. We can come back to the cherries. Raj, are you going to continue watching?
I obviously have a difficulty time watching any of these shows all the way through. I'm interested. I don't know if they delivered anything that's going to be like earth shattering or like, I don't know what the revelation is. I obviously like the political and I like the political intrigue of it. And it's fine enough so far. So we'll see. I mean, I give it I wrote 3 cherries, but I might like bounce that back to 2.5 just because I don't know. This conversation has been very like informative in terms of like, there's a lot of kind of dumb decisions he's making, and hopefully, you know, he's starting to get a clue by the second episode, maybe the third, who knows. But I mean, there's only 8 episodes in this whole thing, so
yeah.
What's frustrating and what, you know, the decisions are dumb, but they're even dumber given who he is. You know what I mean?
the high profile.
He's high profile. He's African American. He's in, you know, the part of the country he's in, having to deal with the police, being a witness to a murder. Like, that just elevates how dumb his decisions are. You're already at a disadvantage. And then now you're going to make these stupid decisions on, I can't.
She gets anxious.
Oh, I was so anxious watching this.
There are implications in this show that I'm not interested in experiencing when I'm watching a show. Overall, the thriller part is cool. The crime component is nice. The mystery is there. So yeah, I definitely want to watch another episode or two and see where it goes. Again, the racial implications, I don't really want to experience that. It's a 3 is a fair grading. To be different, I'll give it a 3.5. But yeah, it's right there down the middle with that first episode. You really gotta watch more to give it a solid full grading. But it's enough to continue watching another to find out.
Like you, I wish we didn't have the racial aspect of it in the show. It would have just been nice if this is just a guy who came across a murder and it wasn't a murder of a white supremacist and he's an African American, a political pundit. You know, like I get tired of race being in shows all the time. It's like, can't we just watch people doing things?
Well, you hope if it is an element that it's used for an actual purpose, not just a like, oh, this is like we've obviously seen the movie of a guy in the woods stumbling upon a murder of something. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'm almost positive that movie's been made. So if it's just like, oh, we'll add this racial component and that's different, like that's dumb. But if there's actually something to be said, I think there can be some usefulness behind it.
I get your point, Raj, but the problem is it's not just a component, it's the narrative.
Yeah.
If it's an African American family trying to exist in a world, they're throwing in a racial component because that narrative has to exist in the minds of Hollywood. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the narrative being infused in our storyline.
For instance, it just makes like when he's just there, you know, in the hospital trying to get better, and these 2 dudes walk up. Oh, we're a fan, sort of. You know, it's just always there. You know, he walks into the diner. Everyone in the diner turns and looks at him. You can feel it at that moment when he walks in the diner. You can sense it as he's walking over to the police officers and they're looking him up and down. You know, even when they go back out to where the crime was committed, they're automatically thinking of him as doing it, which may not be the case if he wasn't, you know, if he wasn't a man or African American. You know, it's just constantly in the room.
Yeah.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing too is it should be more demonstrative to people. Like, you know, that scene played out in the middle of New York City, no one will even look at him because he's just a guy. But the fact that he's in a rural part of the country, I think the fact that people don't understand that's kind of what fuels like the otherization, is not like knowing whether it be a black person, a Muslim person, whatever the case may be, that the other, whatever you're otherizing, whoever you're otherizing, I think that is I appreciate that element being exposed, but then at the same time, I get cynical in the fact that it just doesn't really, it doesn't make any change. You know, I believe in the power of media to exact change, and it just doesn't seem like it does much.
Yeah, they're just using it to drive their story. That's all it's doing. It's not
their
really
ideas and their stories.
It's not really making a change, and it's uncomfortable to watch that. And you know, part of my anxiety about this was like, oh, when is he gonna die? You know, but then Motown was like, well, he's the lead character. I'm like, oh, okay, so he's not gonna die.
I mean, maybe the whole show's a flashback. You know, he's dead from the beginning, and it's all leading up to it.
Like,
oh God! So, do you have cherries to share?
I feel comfortable with 3 because I do love crime dramas, and as in terms of a crime drama, this is great. But I just don't like all the other stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me feel the way I did with that movie Waves.
Let's not even get into that trash. Let's not even get into that.
All right. So the title of the show is The Madness. It released Thursday, November 28th, 2024. There's currently 1 season with 8 episodes.
The average episode duration is 50 minutes. It is on Netflix. The IMDb rating currently is 6.5, and the Rotten Tomatoes top critic score is 62%.
I haven't done any research on this show about a second season, but I don't think we should be expecting one. It's a limited series. I think they're done.
Yeah, and if we look at how Netflix does things, 8 seasons. No second. I mean, 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Clearly no second season.
That they're gravitating more towards just limited series a lot lately.
Yeah, and just this does seem like a show that you could button it up.
Yeah.
And
hopefully we don't need to continue dealing with this type of oppression for a season.
Yeah. If it goes to a second season, it's going to jump the shark very quickly.
Those are our thoughts on The Madness.
Thank you for trusting us.
We are honored to be your first.
For information about this podcast and more, please visit motelmaurice.com.